working. I'm pushing the button. All right, it went.
Welcome to the Backpack Show, everybody.
Hi, everybody. I didn't feel it this morning. Hey, welcome. It's the Backpack Show Live. It is an interesting day, Carrie. Who do we have today?
It's always an interesting day when you book one and I book the other, because you know that alchemy is always a mystery. It's like a black box. So when you book both or I book both, they're kind of on the same plane. When we book two together, like you won and I won, it's anybody's guess. So I'm very excited about today. So first we have Butterscotch, and I think you should talk about her because you were geeking out so hard, and I've come to love her.
Oh my gosh! So Butterscotch came to the world known as a beatboxer, but she's gone so far beyond that title that it's almost wrong to say, but I have to because it's classic. So she's my favorite beatboxer, and you might have seen her.
Beatboxer, the first female champion.
10 billion years ago in America's Got Talent, but like it's just everything. She played with some of my favorite musicians and has a lot to talk about music. It has a new album out. And then we have D.W. McKinney.
D.W. McKinney is a writer, and she was a nonprofit before, and she took a job working as a personal assistant for a multimillionaire who turned out to be super sketchy. So we're going to talk about kind of that experience she had, and then after that, how she got into writing, and now she's the 2020 web resident in fiction for the new Southern Fugitives and the book reviews editor for Linden Avenue Literary Journal. So she's a really, really good writer. I'm so happy she decided to take that leap.
New Southern Fugitive sounds like a pretty good band name too. Backpack Show. I just noticed a detail there. Hey, that's my dad. Hi, Steve Brogan. Good to see you. I just noticed something I'll have to talk to you about offline. Remember to talk about something about the intro that's positive and funny. Did you change the time for this event? Yes, Rex Williams, and we announced it a bunch of times for you. It is West Coast Week.
The show, actually.
It is West Coast Week. Welcome to West Coast Week. This is day 3 of West Coast Week. We did it just for people like Rex, who's on the West Coast, by the way.
But it occurs to me now that we have not mentioned that at any point during
the show.
Live
in the show.
That is the reason that we're at 10 a.m. Pacific instead of 10 a.m. Eastern, is because sometimes we'll have a guest like Butterscotch that's on West Coast time, and we really, really, really want them. So we'll set aside a whole week to do the show on West Coast time.
You know, as many rock stars as we've had on, as many comedians as we've had on, all the people that are, hey, Michelle, people who are from DJ. Oh my gosh, DJ, it's been forever. As many times as we have West Coast week, you know, every now and again, it's really fun to make rock stars wake up early. But we didn't do that today.
Bogota misses you, Chris. I'm assuming you're talking to Chris because I've never been to Bogota, but
I would love to get back to Bogota. DJ, I did some projects with DJ. I did some really cool stuff in Colombia, and what a beautiful country.
I think they would like me. I don't know.
Look, if we were here to talk about me, I would talk about me a lot, but I have to bring in Butterscotch because so exciting.
Because this has been weeks in the making. Welcome.
It has.
Hello.
I tweeted you, I don't know, a few months ago, like a terrible fanboy, just like I can never get enough of your stuff. Fanboy. From like 7 or 8 years ago. That must make you grumpy in some ways because you're like, look, I'm on this new stuff now. That was my Fergie quote, by the way. When people discover you kind of from the way old days, what do you do to kind of bring them to who you are now?
I mean, well, first I'm just grateful because that stuff, I mean, that's what brought me to where I am now. So, and it's always kind of like a fun little flashback. And I'm glad that people like still do remember those days. But yeah, I mean, I guess I guess it depends on who's asking or who's, talking, because I'm not going to be like, oh, thank you. You like that? Well, try this now.
You mean you wouldn't be a marketer about it?
I mean, I'll try to be smooth about it,
But so not like a marketer is what you're saying.
What? maybe just just a smooth operator, I guess.
Bogota loves you too, Butterscotch.
What's up, DJ?
Good morning. Hi, Deb.
It's a good gang here today. So I have to get like kind of one small stupid fan question out of the way.
Yeah.
Which is when you did Peeping Tom with Mike Patton. Was that like, okay, so first off, what a hell show it is for you to try to beatbox with all that other stuff going on around you. That Henry Rollins thing, it's like kind of a mosh pit of noises.
Mm-hmm.
And the mix is, it's a live mix, so you get what you get.
Right.
But just getting the nod to do the collab and just kind of be with that. I just had to ask that as a fan. I'll shut up about all that.
I mean, big thanks to Mike Patton for putting me on back in the day. I mean, yeah, when he first reached out to me, it was through Rozelle, because Rozelle couldn't make a couple of the gigs. And so I'm like, yeah, sure. Like I didn't know exactly, a lot about his music, but I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try it. So we met up, and I didn't have any rehearsal with them. He just like showed me basically, the different songs, and was saying, okay, beatbox here and whatever. And then our first show was, the Henry Rollins show. And then we did it was like a downtown LA show, and it went really well. So then he called me for their statewide tour. And that was incredible. And so at different parts in the show, they would have like different breakdowns. So it wasn't like I was beatboxing along with the music all the time. Right. And then he actually would dedicate like 5 to 10 minutes where everyone would get off stage and then just let me go. And so this, like, I had just turned 21, I think. And so this was my first tour, and just to like be with this big band, this big name where like everyone was like, Mike Patton is God, and yeah, it was an incredible experience. And I remember, I think it was like my third show with him. And, I'm this like young kid basically on the road. And, like, I mean, I love rock music and everything, but I wasn't used to like the rock audiences.
Sure.
And like his audiences. So at least like at least like 5 different people would be thrown out every show. Like they would be spitting at him. He'd be spitting back.
like a Chris Rogan presentation.
Like the third show, I got like a bottle of vodka like chucked at me. But like I like dodged it like the Matrix. But I was like, oh, okay. And like back then my dad was like a big part of my career and would travel with me. And I'm like, I am so glad he is not here, because he would
have gone.
But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. And just to like play every night and have that chunk of time where it was just me, and what great exposure, to have that tour. So.
Rex is a little defensive. He says it's like a bad marketer. Good marketers know how to promote their stuff correctly. Sure, Rex.
And Joseph, don't worry a little bit, Joseph. We're only here every now and again to do a West Coast week, and Carrie specifically made it an hour before Corona, so we didn't overlap you like we did the last time we did West Coast week.
So now we have other people mad at us.
Yeah, we wreck the lawyers' lives show slot now.
I'm a lawyer. I can do that. We do that professionally. Wreck other lawyers' lives.
Now we sound like the end of that TMZ thing. I'm a lawyer. Butterscotch, I started like in the middle of nowhere in my questions, only because I needed to know. Mike Patton, guy from Faith No More, for other people who aren't paying attention, and like 500 other bands. He has more bands than people have live.
Right, exactly.
Mr. Bungle and all that. But you came to the stage, to the world, I guess. America's Got Talent. You had to do it that way. You go big, everybody instantly knows you, but you are a little like boop, boop, boop person, like, compared to like your energy when you beatbox.
He means that in a positive way, by the way.
I absolutely know that at the beginning, you must have been so like, there must have been 85 layers of armor until you built who you are now.
Yeah. Like the contracts that we signed were like this thick, and there was like, there's hidden cameras everywhere, so blah blah blah. So like, I'm not going to say anything then.
Right, they were great.
And back then, because I had only been performing for like a couple years, I mean, like professionally. So yeah, I was confident performing, but I wasn't, I didn't have that experience with interviews, and they would always try to like jam things down my throat of like, make up this story or say this or whatever. And I was just like, I'm not gonna say that. So it was like pulling teeth to try to get me to say things. But I mean, I stick to my guns and I was just honest about everything, but it made me, it like people perceived me as just being very quiet and very shy.
That's what I saw from a distance. And now
Yeah.
look where you've come to. You've got a new album out, and the reason I want to point this out is that, again, I show up at you as Beatboxer, but immediately I see that you play guitar, you play piano, you play a lot of things. You're a full-on musician and you're a business person. What makes you pick this lane to be in, given where you came in? And then talk a little bit about, life in the time of Corona.
Yeah. I mean, it picked me, music is my passion, and I feel like I didn't have a choice, but it's not a bad choice. I came from a musical family. My mom still teaches piano, and I'm the youngest of 5 kids. So we all grew up playing piano and at least one other instrument. So I played, so piano was my first instrument, and then flute and saxophone, like double bass for a second.
Wow.
And then in high school, then I picked up guitar. And then I started like writing more like popular style songs. And yeah, it was just, I had that background. Like my mom would only listen to classical music. My dad would listen to Motown. My older siblings would listen to R&B, hip hop. So I got just a very like eclectic background. And yeah, and then I did, the Beatbox World Championships in 2005, and then America's Got Talent. And then, it's been a wild ride. And, it's been tricky, at times, because of the business side and the music industry being what it is. Like I did question at times if this is what I wanted to do. There was never a question of if I loved music or if I wanted to perform. It was just like all the BS that comes along with it,
And by BS, you're talking about they would try to put you in a box and be like, don't cut your hair.
Yeah.
Don't be who you are.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yeah. And then it's like, everybody wants to categorize you in a genre, and I'm just like, but I love them all, and that's what was so inspiring about Mike Patton, is because you can't even try to put him in a box, so seeing that firsthand, just like, yeah, like I can do anything, and I think, the people who support you are going to support whatever you choose to do. And, as long as you're authentic, and people will love, that energy that you bring, because people can sense when you're not being true to yourself.
Amen. Deb says interesting sound effects. She must be talking about your boop boop.
Oh.
Nazim is saying hello. On the Backpack Show, we like to bring our community into it. They always have really interesting questions. So this question is, what drew you to beatboxing?
Yeah, given your upbringing, in my head,
Yeah.
that was, you came the opposite way, but you were like a schooled musician who said, I think I'll try that beatboxing thing.
Yeah. So when I was a sophomore in high school, I ended up switching schools. It was just, I had a rough time. Not necessarily like in school, but just with depression. And I wasn't motivated to do anything. And so I like almost dropped out of school, and until I actually got into this performing arts school, and that like changed my life. I'll just throw it out, Natoma's charter school. What's up? And that's where I picked up the guitar, because it was just like, like everyone was playing a different instrument like at lunchtime, and it was just, there were no like popular kids. It was just, it was great. It was like a dream.
It's a school full of band geeks.
Yeah, exactly. And it was funny because back then I played basketball and soccer. So when I switched schools, I had no sports to play. But anyway, that's a whole different story. But so then there was this kid who was a beatboxer, and he was just incredible. And I was like, and that was the first time I'd ever seen it done live. And I was just like, I want to do that. So then I picked up the basics from him, and then just included it in whatever I was doing musically, and just took it and ran with it. So.
You mentioned that you'd struggled with depression. I watched your TED Talk, really like your TED performance, and you talked about that shift from where you would create to survive to where you survived to create. So when did that shift happen for you?
I mean, I'm still going through it now, to be honest. And I think right now a lot of us are, especially artists and musicians. I mean, I feel like, artists who do have, somewhat of a following can do live streaming. Like I've been doing live streaming. I've had some corporate gigs, which, are helping me out financially, which is great. But the musicians who back up the artists, like I don't, like my heart goes out to them, because it's just so hard to make this shift right now. So yeah, it's a tricky time. But yeah, I mean, what I said, I survived in order to, what did I say? Can you?
Yes, you said that at first you would create in order to survive,
right?
And then you eventually transitioned to where you were surviving
in order to create. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it goes in flux. This life isn't linear. I mean, age-wise, sure, but there's so much that happens. That yeah, it's rough. But I guess I guess what is easier is the way that I am able to handle things. Because what I say is like life doesn't get easier. You just get better at being able to handle things. I mean, it depends on who you are, of course, but I feel like this past year in dealing with all this, I've had a lot of blow ups with people, but have had I'm just so much, I'm just so much more, I'm so much better. Sorry, morning brain. I'm so much better at communicating with people and being honest and telling them what I need. And boundaries too,
people love those.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about it is you get to set it over and over again.
Right.
Because they'll ignore it the first time.
They'll ignore it, right?
Right.
People are begging to hear a sample.
Sure.
Mr. Chappie, can we get a demo? Second that, third that, can we get a sample?
Enough talking.
A lot of people say they love you, that your talents are impressive. Martha says she's mesmerized by you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Deb says if I just picked up a guitar, it wouldn't sound very good.
I put it back down, Deb.
It didn't sound very good the first time I picked it up either.
People
love your singing. People love your singing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
They love it all.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give a little.
Just making up a song for you right now on the crisp backpack show. on the backpack. What you need in your backpack? Gotta tell me. Yeah. Thank you for having me on the show. Taking it back. Yeah. My name is Butterscotch on the racks. The backpack show. The backpack show. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody loves it.
Yeah, Mix-a-Lot didn't do that yesterday.
Also, there'll be no living with Chris after this, so thank you for that.
I had to tie myself down in my chair. Oh my gosh. I thank goodness I thought to make the screen big because I had this dumb look the whole time. Oh man.
She's thinking about me.
It doesn't get old. It does not get old to watch you loop that stuff, put it together, make it happen. What's kind of fun about this, you should know, Scotch, is that like the way we do the show live is it's on a couple of different places on Facebook, it's on Twitter, it's on YouTube, but it's on LinkedIn. So there's all these business dudes like hanging out in their business day, checking like to see if they need a new job or something like that. Right. And they see this go by and oh, what's this? And then they click and they go right into a performance. Right.
Nazim wants to know if you're on Spotify.
I am. Yes.
Everywhere.
Under Butterscotch on iTunes, Bandcamp. I forgot to say, I just joined Twitch, so I'll do live streams every week.
Now you're gonna have to use Twitch. Oh. I'm sorry, your username on Twitch?
Butterscotch Music. Yeah.
Yeah. Well then, how's that been going? The Twitch thing now. I've seen a few people doing it. I watched T-Pain do some cool DJ stuff. Cool. And with T-Pain, by the way, I mean, after he did what he did on The Masked Singer, of course, everyone's like, oh, you also can sing.
Right.
And so he's kind of having a sort of weird second life right now, which is interesting.
Right.
Are you finding that being in all these places is helping, or is this like how you have to do it as a business right now?
No, I mean, I've always wanted to get on Twitch. And it's just, I feel like this time is really challenging me in a good way to actually dive into all the things that I've been wanting to. So it's a blessing to have this time. It's unfortunate that, it's this kind of time, and especially with the fires going on now too. And it's wild. But I mean, it's I have this setup now, which before I was just like always bouncing back and forth, like on the road doing shows. And I'm super grateful and I miss those shows, of course. But I love having this time to actually settle down and work on the things that I've been putting off for a while.
So you can get in the lab with your pen and a pad.
Right.
Try to get the label off.
I just miss going outside, Butterscotch.
What?
I just miss going outside.
Yeah.
So as this wrap is winding down, we have to put you backstage and do some sponsor stuff and all that. But listen, keep telling people about depression, because it's one of the things I do as a guy, an entrepreneur side, is I talk to people all the time about what clinical depression is and isn't. And sometimes we got to spend a few extra days in bed that you don't have to, and that sort of thing. And always helps to get that message out so people know they're not alone, and they're not somehow lesser for dealing with that.
Yeah, got to get rid of the stigma for sure.
So big. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for the demonstration and all that live music.
Please don't leave.
Stick around if you can.
For sure.
Putting you back though. Here we go.
Don't leave. Yay. So
Stay. Do you still play piano? She plays piano all the time. All the damn time. She's playing it right now. Backstage.
Nazim misses music, live music, concerts. Yeah, Scott was wondering.
Unbelievable. All right, listen, sponsors. Boop, there's one. We are sponsored by StreamYard. You can make a show just like that. You can make a show with actual live beatbox demoing. all by yourself. Just go to SteveRogan.me/StreamYard.
Learn to beatbox.
Comes with beatboxing. If you just buy the software, you can learn about that. Authors, including our upcoming author conversation, D.W. McKinney. Authors, you can get a site. You could build your own cool book site on pub-site.com, which is made by the nice people at FSB Associates. Carrie, talk to me about PubSite.
So if you've written a book or several, or you want to have an author website to promote said books, but you don't know how to do it, it's very, very easy. You use pub-site.com. So go to PubSite. If you don't want to build the site, even though it's really easy, they'll actually build it for you. So super easy. There's a free trial. And after that, it's just $19.99 a month. So it's
$20 a month.
I know, it's crazy. But what I love about it is FSB Associates is the premier book publicity firm anywhere. And they've been in business doing this, helping authors sell their books for like 25 years. So they know what needs to be on your website. They know what features it needs. So use them. They are great. pub-site.com.
Fazia Burke's a book publicity killer. That's what we
I adore Fazia Burke. You never see her coming, but yeah, she's a killer.
She's the Burkiest. Deb Lee has a question. Does StreamYard come with a set of hosts?
Bring your own host, Deb.
Yeah, you're going to be the host. I wait for your show.
Bring your own hosts, your own beatboxers. Get your own.
Get your own. Like with the Apple. But by the way, nice to see Scott Duhlmeier here. So it's always good to have our man Scott.
You're going to watch this over and over again because Butterscotch sang about you.
I'm cutting that clip out just like I cut out another really important clip out.
I know, I'm kind of jealous.
I did not know the dad joker would be here today.
Because, when you get epic voice guy to say stuff about you, you got to do it. I say we bring out DW before I do get a head so big that you can't even see anybody else on this.
Yes, that would be preferable.
She's so, love this energy. DW McKinney, hey.
Hi.
All right, now you beatbox.
Okay.
Oh my God. Well, if you ever wanted to learn, this is the best person to learn from. Yes. So while you're backstage, maybe pick up a few pointers. So I'm going to start with the you're being a personal assistant because that's how I discovered you. I read this kind of expose style sort of / memoir article about having a really terrible experience working as a personal assistant for a multimillionaire. Now, how did that happen? How did the scenario present itself to you? And how did you get kind of wooed out of your nonprofit career into doing questionable things for this guy with a lot of money?
So what happened was I was working part-time at the nonprofit for refugees. And my husband at the time was working 2 jobs, one temp job and this other part-time job at Office Depot. And we were kind of struggling for cash. So I went on Craigslist, that was my go-to place to find quick gigs. And there was an advertisement. Someone was looking for someone to edit their memoir. And the pay was good. It would be cash. It sounded like something that I could do because I was interested in transitioning to writing. And so, I answered the ad. I met this guy at Starbucks. And at first, he didn't tell me that he was a millionaire. He was just this dude who had a memoir that, he was trying to get out. And then through conversations, because we would meet every day for like 6 hours. And we would,
on the phone. 6 hours? I don't spend 6 hours a day with people unless I really like them.
The money was good. Yeah. The money was good and he was paying for my lattes. So we would just go to Starbucks and, writing. And then I would read his memoir and ask him questions. And during our break time, our designated 10-minute break time, it came out that he was a millionaire. And so then it just, it got a little weird. And like I said, I was like, hey, this might be something interesting. I'm always down for an adventure. Do you need a personal assistant? And so we wrote up a contract and it just went from there.
Okay. So it was your idea then to expand the role into something a little bit different. Okay. That's a little less sketchy than at first I imagined. Be my assistant. So at what point do things start turning sour? So first of all, how is it at first? Like what kinds of things does he have you doing? And then like, when does it start to get progressively weirder? And at what point do you think maybe this isn't such a great move for you?
Okay, so it was weird when I was just editing his memoir, because we were at Starbucks and he was telling me about his wife and all this stuff about his wife. Like she has like a vestigial tail or whatever. She's got like the thing is still there and like all this weird stuff. And then I noticed that like he was like flirting with the baristas, and I was like, hey, what's going on? And then it came out that like I guess not necessarily poly, but he just had like lots of mistresses on the side that his wife approved of. And I was like, okay, this is probably not the best idea. But then when I would
say like horrible things about his wife too. It wasn't like he was just poly and she was cool with it. He would say really nasty things about her.
Yeah, that's the thing. When I've learned that it's not just me, that I think a lot of us, when we get in a situation, and I think now in our social climate, we're learning this, when you're in a situation and you think that you kind of can separate yourself from what's, the good stuff from the bad stuff and keep your integrity, it doesn't always work the way that you hope that it would work. And so I think I just kind of like blocked that out of like, hey, this is his thing and I'm not responsible for this. I'm just the memoirist. I'm just helping him edit, and then now I'm your personal assistant. But
then so he can say whatever he wants about his wife. It's not your problem.
Yes, that's how it started. But then what I wrote in my essay is it got to a point where I actually did confront him about it, because it just became a thing that it was just happening so often. And it was like, this is just, it's terrible. Like, how can you talk about someone you love like this, and then you start to question like their morals, their ethics, and what other things are going on, and like what other things do they allow? So, yeah.
So how did that go though? I'm sorry, Chris. I have questions for DW and I need answers.
No,
so you're like, hey man, can you not call your wife a bunch of bad names in front of me and the baristas? And he says,
oh, she's used to it. She's fine with it. It's fine. This is our relationship. She calls me, and then he inserts all the expletives all the time. So this is, he justifies it.
But then another one of the people on his staff talked to you and were like, hey, you're going to blow your gig.
Yes. So we went to this restaurant, and for the people who haven't read the essay, it was after we tried to get into this fancy steakhouse, and he was like waving cash, outside of the window, and the people are like, go away. We don't, we don't want you here. We go to this restaurant. He's hitting on the waitress there. He says some things about his wife. And then when I say, hey, you shouldn't talk about your wife like that, his chauffeur / bodyguard was like, after he left, was like, you're going to blow this gig. You just put up with whatever he says and whatever he does and move with it.
Mm.
Where was this happening, by the way? I did not read the essay. I apologize. I've been told about it 3 times, but where on the planet was this craziness happening?
In Austin, Texas.
Oh, okay. So, I first had to get LA out of my head, but,
because it sounds so LA, right?
Austin is kind of its own little LA for new money, right? Like that's all new money.
Rich a-holes are rich a-holes wherever you are.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's my experience.
Wow. So there's this whole other part of you, it turns out. But this is like this is the thing that kind of put you on the map in a weird way. Sort of like,
yes.
Butterscotch beatboxed and crushed a bunch of people. When you see those 2005 videos, they're insane. You had an incredibly weird a-hole boss insanity experience happen.
Yes.
No, but this takes real bravery, Chris, for her to talk
about.
It
is massive bravery.
Because he has money and influence where you live. And so now you're publishing this expose. Even without his name, people are speculating.
Yes, actually, I do. Every time the article trends, I get emails from people who are like, hey, I have a neighbor who lives out in Lake Travis. It sounds like this person. Is it this person? I'm like, no, it's not that person. So people are curious.
Do you say bingo if they're right?
No.
Sorry, I had to.
You're like Carly Simon with that song. You're like, I'm never going to say. Has anybody guessed correctly? I know you said like you told them no, but
no one has guessed correctly.
So doesn't that make you sad? Because now there's like a lot of a-holes out there.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like when you say, oh, it's a millionaire, you kind of have this idea of who it would be. But there are more millionaires out there than we realize. And so, this person met me at a Starbucks. It wasn't like we were meeting in some fancy hotel or some high rise or a condo or something like this. So it was just kind of like an everyday situation.
So when did it really get skeevy? Like, at what point were you feeling like this is a dangerous situation for me and I need to stop working with this guy?
So it was like a progressive thing, but I think what really turned the corner was, so I quit my job at the nonprofit because I was like, yeah, I'm going to be rich too, and I'm gonna travel the world and not be poor anymore. And he immediately came out with this like scheme to do. I'm trying to be kind of vague with it, but to do this scheme with banks and like try and convince them to get loans and then like do something with the loans. And it was just like, it was really weird. And so as his assistant, I had to call the banks on his behalf and like set up these appointments with only certain people. And I was like, this just doesn't, I don't know what's happening. And one time we actually went to an appointment. He was like, hey, you need to dress in all black, and everybody's dressing all black. You need to wear like, hold yourself a certain way. Don't talk. I need you to pretend to be my lawyer. And I was like, oh, God.
Oh my golly.
So that was kind of the turning point. And then the part that I write about in the essay is when he's like, we meet outside of Starbucks and he hands me the money and is like, you need to put this in an envelope and you need to take it to this, city official. And I'm like, oh, you're asking me to bribe someone. Okay. I can't do this anymore, So yeah.
So that was the moment for you. We were finally like, okay, pretending to be a lawyer is one thing. This is a whole other
thing
level of, yeah.
Yes. And during this whole process, I'm talking to my husband about it of like, what's going on? Like, what should I be doing? And we're talking about, okay, how much of this is, where's the line of like legality right here? Like, how close are you getting close to the line? When are you going to step over the line? Are you going to step over the line? And so when that happened, I went home. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to figure out what am I supposed to do? Because now I have money that doesn't belong to me in my hand in these documents. And so, yeah, that's when I put on my hoodie and my sunglasses. And I'm like, let's just get this out of my hands. And I quit. Send my text. I quit. I can't do this.
So at that point, you have a decision to make. Are you going to go back to the nonprofit, to your position, which is still there, or are you going to pursue your dream of writing?
Yeah. So when I was at the nonprofit, I had decided that I really wanted to do writing. I really wanted to do storytelling. Part of my job there was I was an English language tester for the refugees. But while I was doing that, they would often tell me their stories and I would get to know these people and just really inspired about documenting their stories. And I tried to do that with the nonprofit to an extent, and it didn't quite work out. And then I realized, like, I just really want to write and tell stories. And so after I quit to be the personal assistant, I realized I have to keep moving forward. I can't go backward. Like, I essentially freed myself from this position. And so I just decided to, like, dig my heels in and try and be a writer. And so then I wrote all these articles about gelato and and clothes and travel before I got to where I am now.
So Deb has a question. Did working in all that weirdness help you to hone your writing?
I think weirdness has always been something that has like attracted itself to me. I have lots of weird stories, lots of weird encounters. So I think, actually, yes, by embracing the weird, I think I have more stories to tell and more adventures. I think the millionaire one was like the wall for me of like, okay, we need to stop here and don't do that again. You put yourself in danger.
That's also the story that you put out there at personal risk that's now helped people to become aware of you. Like, that's how I found you. I looked at that and I thought, this is weird as hell. I need to talk to her.
Right.
So
Carrie ran towards the weirdness. Like,
I did. That's what I do. So has it brought you opportunity, or has it, like, on balance, are you regretful that you came out with it or happy that you came out with it?
I'm happy that I came out with it because I feel like it's something that needed to be shared. I don't necessarily regret that. I'm not ashamed of it. I think, that's my life. Like, I did this thing and, I think people can benefit from reading that story. When I first wrote it, I didn't really hear anything about it. And so it's strangely, it was this year. So I wrote it last year in September. And this year is when it started to pick up a little bit of traction. And so I'm really happy I wrote it, because I often get emails from people who have found themselves in similar situations, which is kind of bizarre that it's like, hey, it's not just me. There are other people who've worked for terrible rich people or terrible, powerful people. And so it's just been, it's good that it's been healing and restorative for other people as well. And so thankful for that. Not thankful for the troll emails that I get, but that's okay. I just delete those.
Troll from other rich jerks or from him?
No, just from like lots of dudes that are upset that I talked about this.
Nazim says,
because you might be blowing their cover. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right. So Gelato is evidently huge. He thinks that there's a body of work, I guess, there to be had.
In Milan.
Coach Woodard says, is Carrie a weirdness first responder?
That's fairly accurate to the Carrie I know.
I'm curious. I don't know if it's a weirdness responder. I'm just curious. Chloe from Scotland wants to know, do you think you see the world or people through a different lens, having gone through that experience?
I think that in some ways I'm more cautious to certain people, but at the same time, I'm still more open. I don't really like to close myself off to experiences. And like I said, weirdness attracts itself to me. So I just kind of embrace it. And I think in every situation that I've had that hasn't worked out the greatest, like that one, it has just given me something to relate better to people and to help people. And so I think it sharpens my lens.
It must have been liberating, says Nazim, to write the essay.
It was. It's unfortunate that there's a word count, because there's just so much more that I had to say, but it felt like a huge burden just came off of my back. And so I'm very, very thankful that I was given the space to write that.
Constraints are vital. This has been a lot of fun. We're bringing in Butterscotch again. Hopefully you saw me type that in the little private thing. But don't worry, because I'd have pulled you in if you were picking your nose. The whole thing goes. It's important for us on the show. One of the things that when we kind of put the show together, there was a mandate that we wanted to bring up some voices that people weren't seeing as often. And definitely in the context of things like business success and business inspiration. One of the things we set out to do is get a lot more women's voices moving, get a lot more access to more people of color, get all different kinds of people. We have Mexican horror comedy actors on, things like that. We're looking for people that not everybody knows. You both have your methods and your means to promote. One thing DW's story says is things aren't okay sometimes, and it's okay to speak up. Butterscotch does her own projects on this. I want to talk about that. What's your angle towards, yes, women, or yes, whatever? Who are you out there swinging the flag for right now? And what's that look like? Either one, go. Doesn't matter.
I mean, I guess anybody who needs it, yeah, I mean,
do you get a lot of that interaction? Do you get a lot of women performers coming looking to make sure that they don't step on all the landmines in music?
I mean, I don't know, like I've always been someone who just does whatever I want to do, regardless if it's with men or with women or non-binary people. Sure. I grew up playing, sports, as I mentioned. And so I would oftentimes just play with the guys. And then when I started beatboxing, it was male dominated, and I didn't really receive too much hate at the beginning, but when YouTube started, then that's when as you're mentioning, all the trolls, and that did discourage me at first. But you have to remember that, the people who are writing this are, have no life of their own. And the best thing they can do is just, say something about someone who is doing something. But yeah, I mean, just having, I don't want to say having a voice, because everyone does have a voice, but I guess since, we have a platform, then being able to use that to amplify the voices who are generally unheard. So for me, I mean, I guess that's, people of color, queer people, women, this whole gender revolution is interesting. I mean, I've always considered myself as a woman, but now, having the option of being non-binary is this interesting like revelation where I'm like, oh yeah, well, I could identify as that, so it's, I don't know. Yeah. Just lifting people up that, haven't had a chance.
You're just lifting people up generally. There's a lot of negative opinions thrown around about everybody and everything that I feel like we could do without, except for rich a-holes. That's fine.
We're okay with knocking them down.
Yeah.
No, the reason I asked the thing specific about women too is that, it's on your Twitter profile, empowering women through, and I was thinking it's interesting because if someone asked me, just 85 facts about Butterscotch, I've always felt you as kind of accessible across, I don't see it as
I do need to update that Twitter headline.
That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you.
You're so nice.
Right.
DW.
No, I do.
What about you?
You're absolutely right.
I didn't hear your initial question. It sounded like robot.
Yeah, I'm sure he's forgotten what his initial question even was.
You how do you bring people up? What are you doing to bring people up? It seems like this essay is a nice flag to have out there so other people can share their story. So you must be getting a lot of those stories. You must be getting a lot of person in power made me feel grumpy bad, worse. Is that coming into more of your work going forward, or is this just a topic and you're doing a lot of things?
I think what I definitely try to do is just to be vulnerable and honest, and just to share true, authentic stories. Because I think when you try and like fit a certain mold of what the story should look like, people don't really benefit from that. And I think when you show people like another face of themselves on the page, that helps them feel more encouraged. And so I just try to be honest, as with my experiences as a woman, as a Black woman, and especially as a parent, because I think parents definitely, kind of get the short end of the stick sometimes, and especially parents who are working and, creative parents as well.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Right.
When, like in our district, we were faced with talk about advocacy in like tiny little microcosms. We were faced with a choice. We could send our honors student back to school if they wanted their honors classes, or we could keep them home, but then they wouldn't have any honors classes. And so they would just like coast for a year, and they'd already been super bored since like March. So in my town, we had a tornado that destroyed their school. So they've been home. No one was in it, thank God. But they've been home since then because no school.
Wow.
So yeah, so it was like not an easy choice to make, and we had to talk with the kids and be like, this is after I did all my yelling and advocacy, which is where I go with it, to say, why are you going to carve out any one group of students and say, well, sorry, this year sucks for you. Like, we're going to do everything for everybody but you. Like, it just felt like a bad lesson for my kids. And because we weren't able to get that change, we had to do workarounds and, find access to other accredited things. But it's like, so anytime you see something like that, I feel like anybody carved out for, different treatment on any basis, that gets my hackles up. So that's like I don't know. It's not like a hill exactly that I die on. It's a lot of little ones, because it happens all the time where I'm like, yeah, that's not fair. This sort of intrinsic sense of fairness, like it puts you out of integrity with yourself. DW, like you were saying, you reached a point where what you were asked to do made you feel not comfortable inside. Like it put you out of integrity with yourself. Yeah. So I think anytime that happens, I think people need to pay attention to that feeling and act on it.
Yeah, I'm fairly open with saying, like, I recognize, like, during the different stages of the process of being, first his editor and then his personal assistant, that there were alarm bells going off. And my dad has always, taught me how to pay attention to those alarm bells, but I just pushed against them just to see what happened. If I go a little further, go a little, deeper into the dark place. Yeah, I think my experience being a lesson for other people to just, sometimes you don't have to go there. You don't have to go that deep. You don't have to challenge yourself. You already know who you are. I'm happy to put that out there.
Like Scotch, it couldn't have been easy for you drawing boundaries, like you were saying. You have to do it over and over and over again.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've definitely had a lot of experiences, or not a lot, but like similar experiences with, these rich, powerful men who are actually doing some good for the world, or doing a lot of good for the world. and have this persona to everyone except people in their close circle. And they, they'll treat their wife, like crap, or, people around them. And I'm like, how are you going to go out and preach this and then act a whole different way? And it's deeply disturbing. And yeah, I've had to separate myself from some of those people as well. Cause I'll go and perform at these like life-changing or, world-changing conferences and stuff. And then I'll see who these people really are. I mean, some of them are incredible, of course, but,
and others aren't.
Yeah.
And others aren't.
Yeah.
So Professor Nez is here. He's the reason we actually got on to LinkedIn Live. He had a little formula on how do you get on LinkedIn Live, and I followed it to the letter, and it worked flawlessly. So
I didn't.
He just said, do this, do this, do this. I was like, okay, dance monkey. And I danced, and I got the LinkedIn Live. So thank you, Professor Nez.
And I'm like, you're not the boss of me. So I'm not on LinkedIn Live.
You're not my supervisor. All right. So listen, we're at the part of the show where it's the backpack. The question is, what goes in your backpack? It could be something real world. It could be something important to people's spirit, soul, psyche, body parts, anything. It could be emotions. It could be sort of operating instructions. The question is, what goes in your backpack? Butterscotch, what do you want to throw in the backpack for the next 5 years to help people survive and win?
First, a potato.
Nice.
Because potatoes are great. Banana, because that's the classic butterscotch banana. But the biggest thing for me probably is like improvisation and adaptability. And because that's what I do with music. That's, I think, what sets me apart is being able to, take everything, even just from my mouth, and being able to just create. Also, I kind of thrive when things go wrong on stage, because I'm able to adapt to that. I'm trying to transition that to real life. It's a little bit more tricky when you're not on a stage, which is interesting because you would think it'd maybe be the opposite when you're like in front of people and you're presenting. But I guess it's kind of this, adrenaline and this kind of channeling of creativity, which I'm trying to bring that into real life of, okay, how can I respond to this and think creatively and improvise.
So a potato, a banana, and also
improvisation.
Yeah. Yes, and the banana.
Improvisation doesn't take up any space, so I feel like she's still okay.
We have some room. DW, what do you got? What goes in?
I settled on two things. One, a Pez dispenser, because they just bring me so much joy, and they just remind me of simpler times.
Which one?
I just like Pez in general, just delights me. And then kudos, which is something that I rely on a lot as a writer, is just, taking kudos from people, just and just keeping them near you, because like sometimes you forget who you are, you forget how far you've come, you forget how much of an impact you have on the world, and reading other people's, comments and kudos to you helps to uplift you and push you forward. And I think that is something that we need all of the time.
Dre, I demand you remember who you are. I believe that was a very legendary Detroit area professional who said that to his mentor, Marshall Mathers. And so you're right. You need some kudos from time to time.
Professor Nez is proud of you, Chris.
Yeah. Thank goodness he said something, because I almost forgot the person of the day, which is sponsored by pub-site.com. Look at that. Person of the day. You get one of these. You get an apple. You get an apple if you go out and buy the apple. I think we have to kind of go with our, very talkative Milan friend today, Naz. I don't even remember. Maybe we even already gave him person of the day one time.
Nazim's been saying some really great things during, and he always asks really good questions. Like, is the guy aware you wrote the essay? Nazim, I promise you, he is aware.
He's pretty aware. Yeah,
wrote the essay. I'm pretty sure.
That's our person of the day today.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he didn't like it.
No, he did not like it. So I have to show you something. My grandmother had an idea once about how to put something in the backpack that would really cover both sides of this coin. And it's new today, so pay attention.